Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. In this video, we are going to be going over the top 10 cards that are based on Yu-Gi-Oh! GX characters. One of my favorite elements of the TCG OCG card artwork is when it is based off characters or moments from the various Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. We have been blessed over the years, especially recently, with getting so many awesome homages to the anime characters and moments, and I am going to go through my 10 favorite that have to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! GX characters. Now, a quick note, I am not including monsters that appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So, like, all the Elemental Hero cards are not going to be included, and Yubel is not going to be included, which I know might be a little controversial, because Yubel is a character, but Yubel is also a monster, and I feel like there's so many Yubel cards that it would have made the list a little overbalanced in terms of Yubel support. Now, there is a Yubel card in this list, and that's because Yubel is featured with another character, which does make it eligible in my opinion. So I just wanted to make that brief point. We are only looking at cards where they are clearly based off of GX characters. Without further ado, let's get into it. I hope you guys enjoy. Starting with an honorable mention is Damage Reptile. Originally, I had this card actually in my top 3, and then I looked a little deeper into it, and I unfortunately don't think there's enough evidence to say that this Slifer Red student is Judai. Originally, I thought that this was Judai, and it was supposed to be symbolic of his duel against Viper, who of course used reptiles, but if we look at the card artwork when it was used in the anime, you can clearly tell that it's just a generic Slifer Red student. Now, maybe the TCG artwork is a little more ambiguous, and you could make the argument that this is supposed to resemble Judai, but because it wasn't definitive enough, I decided not to include Damage Reptile, even though it is an awesome looking card, and I did want to give it a shout out as an honorable mention. Number 10, Bujin Arasuda. So starting with Bujin Arasuda, by the way, there's going to be a lot of Bujins on the list. We have a card that is clearly based off of Bastion Misawa. The Bujin cards are awesome. There are so many great references to different characters, mainly in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, although there is a Pegasus Bujin as well. What I love about the Bastion card here is that it is the color yellow, which obviously has to do with his Duel Academy ranking, which is raw yellow. Bastion, just to me, is not one of the cooler characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. He's not one of my favorites. So even though this is an awesome reference, it is at the bottom of my list. Number 9, Bujin Yamato. We have our main protagonist reincarnated as a Bujin, and of course that is Slifer Red's Jaden Yuki. We have the red scheming color of the card, which is awesome. The reason this is lower, even though it does resemble one of my favorite protagonists in all of Yu-Gi-Oh!, is because I've never really seen Judai in this card. Like, if you told me this had nothing to do with GX, I wouldn't be like, oh, but it looks just like Jaden Yuki. Whereas all the other Bujin monsters that we're going to be mentioning, like the Bastion one we just went over, definitely resemble the characters. This one, to me, just doesn't really resemble Judai. I know it's supposed to, and I know it does, which is why it's making the list. But I don't know, maybe I just don't see it. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments. I feel like it's hard to make out Judai Yuki from this card, but maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just a personal issue I have. I'd love to know if you guys actually see Judai in this card or not. Number 8, Bujin Harume. This one is obviously based off of Alexis Rhodes, everybody's favorite Obelisk Blue Girl. You kind of have your blue color scheme within this card, but I think the one thing that I love about this card, you have like the rays of light coming down from the heavens, almost like she's an angel or being depicted as an angel in this card. And of course, she plays Cyber Angels. She also has a pose that's very reminiscent of like a dancer or a skater with her legs crossed and her arms out. I think it's really, really reminiscent of Asuka, and it is a really, really cool card, and I think it's cooler than the two we've gone over previously, and so Bujin Harume is number 8 for me. Number 7, Crystal Keeper, finally getting away from the Bujin monsters. This one is obviously supposed to represent Jesse or Johan. You have obviously a character that's holding a sword with all of the crystals in a circle around the character. I think this is a really, really cool card. Now, there is a cooler version of this card that we are going to be mentioning a little later on. If you're aware of it, I'm sure you know what that card is, but this is a really, really cool ode to Johan, who is one of my favorite characters from GX and was just an absolute joy to watch in the second half of that show. Number 6, Bujin Haruko. You might not know right away who this character is supposed to depict, but it is definitely supposed to depict Sartorius or Sayu, the main villain from Season 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I absolutely love the design of this. I love the black and red color scheme in the sky to resemble almost like an evil, antagonistic sort of vibe, which of course that is the character that this Bujin is representing. The arms are out as well, like it's trying to control everything, which we know that was the goal of the Light of Destruction that was possessing Sayu. I really, really love the artwork of this card. It's one of my favorite Bujin artworks when it comes to, of course, the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX characters. There's only one that I like more than this one. Starting our top 5 with Clear World, which resembles Fujiwara Yusuke. And a fun fact about this one, this is the first card on the list that was actually used in the anime. This was a card that was used in the final season, and I love how ominous this card is. Obviously, you have the Clear World gem that's illuminating the sky right above the silhouetted character, which of course represents Fujiwara Yusuke, and Fujiwara Yusuke being silhouetted out is perfect because he looks like he's embodied by darkness, which he was in that final season. He was controlled fully by darkness. So I feel like the symbolism of this card is perfect. It is a really, really awesome card, and for that reason, it deservedly kicks off our top 5. Number 4, Bujin Mikazuchi. Now, it might be shocking that I have Manjome, Chaz Princeton, as my favorite Bujin monster, because you guys know that I'm not the biggest fan of Manjome, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. This card artwork is absolutely sick, and it makes Manjome look like a total badass. We have the blue color scheme, which of course represents his rise to Obelisk Blue throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, but my favorite element of this card has to be the thunder and the lightning in the background. Obviously, his nickname in the original subbed version was Manjome Thunder, and so what do? They give him the most awesome, on-point background you could ask for, with lightning bolts and a thunderous sky right behind him. The character silhouette looks amazing. The lightning in the background just rises this card up the list for me, and yes, a Chaz-based card is number 4, deservedly so, in my opinion. Number 3, Crystal Master. So Crystal Master is a card I was alluding to earlier. It's kind of an upgraded version of the Crystal Keeper card that we went over. These cards, of course, being pendulum support for the Crystal Beast deck. This is supposed to resemble a darker version of Johan, and of course, we saw that later in Season 3 when Yubel possessed Johan. So this is supposed to be like a Yubel, Johan infused type character. Love that the background is a little more darker and ominous than the Crystal Keeper card. I think it really fits with what they were trying to do here with the possessed Johan, and I really, really love the design. I feel like the crystals are also more to the forefront and larger, which I like over the Crystal Keeper design, and this one gets the bronze for me as the coolest card based off of a GX character. Number 2, CrossDimensional Duel. This is such an amazing card, and for a while was my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime-based card. CrossDimensional Duel depicts Kronos and Judai, the duel that, of course, kicked off Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which was so incredibly brought back in episode 167 in the final season, where these two square off, and the same exact thing plays out, where it's Kronos' Ancient Gear Golem versus Judai's Elemental Hero Flame Wingman. The duels themselves are incredible, mainly because of that Season 4 duel, which is such a perfect callback to their first matchup, and I just love what this card represents in its artwork. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, and it just misses out on the number 1 spot. Honestly, it was very recently dethroned. That's a little hint for you guys. Number 1, the coolest card based on a Yu-Gi-Oh! GX character is Eternal Favorite, which is part of the new Yubel support. And I know I said I'm not including any Yubel cards unless Yubel is with another character. Well, guess what? Yubel is with Judai, and therefore this card to me is eligible because Judai Yuki is clearly on the card. Eternal Favorite depicts the end of Season 3, where Yubel and Judai embrace right before Super Polymerization's effect goes off, and Yubel and Judai become one. It is such an iconic moment of Season 3, and it is such an important character moment for Judai, where he decides to sacrifice potentially himself by using Super Poly to merge him and Yubel's souls, instead of allowing Yubel to merge the 12 dimensions and potentially ending all life as we know it. It is one of the most iconic moments, I would argue, in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, and the fact that it's depicted on a card is beautiful. I also love that they added in like Yubel's wings, just like fully embracing Judai. It's a beautiful card. It's certainly my new favorite card when it comes to GX characters being represented. It's very new. This is definitely the newest card on the list. And to me, Eternal Favorite is deservedly number 1 for this topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to know if there are any cards that I missed. I'd love to know if you agree with my rankings. And you know what? If you want to give shout-outs to any of the cards that include monsters, including Yubel, you absolutely can do that. I just wanted to not include Yubel or any monsters because I didn't want the list to be unfairly balanced to the new Yubel support, and there's a lot of great new Yubel support. I also wanted to give a shout out to Judai Chu, a user on Twitter. I'm going to link their account down below. They are a great positive Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime account, and if you enjoy positive posting and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I definitely recommend that you follow him. He recently posted a huge spreadsheet, basically, of all the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX characters and monster references to cards that I definitely used to kind of curate this list after I had already finalized some of the rankings. So please give them a follow. I've spoken with them before. They are a really, really awesome person. Huge shout out to them. And to all of you guys for watching, thank you so much. I will talk to you down below. Next one we'll do is 5Ds, and we'll go on from there, and then we'll conclude with the original Yu-Gi-Oh! In all likelihood. Just trying to switch up the starting point for some of these new series. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.
Why can't you see that I'm speaking with sincerity? And I think you should make a lot more money, 'cause it's what's best for you. And for why can't you see